Sorry there's no webcam video in this one. I was recording it and then Windows said, whoops, something went wrong. So now it's all gone. So shout out to Microsoft. Anyway, here's the video. Hello everybody, we are back. This is part 2 of building Slappers, aka Slaps, aka Slapjack. When we last spoke, the player disconnect logic was broken, and this.players was not being maintained correctly by the home games engine. After a lot of detective work, I found out it was because this line here on 44 was commented out for some dumb reason, because I think I commented out at some point weeks ago when I was testing something and never came right back. Never came right back, what does that even mean? Never brought it back. Also, there's more context on what I'm doing right now in part 1. Hopefully there's actually good, valuable information in there and I'm not just rambling like a crazy person, but I have a feeling I might be. So anyway, what I'm doing right now is I have these kind of skeleton pieces of what I want to do. I have this yellow part where I'm going to render my cards. I have this purple thing where I'm going to put a button to say new round. And I have this that shows the players that are currently in the game. And the bug I had was that when a player disconnected, it wasn't actually being removed from the list. It just kind of kept adding forever. Now that's fixed. So see that I'm doing this. And I keep getting random names and everything is working great. So what I'm going to do now is just add, I have the wrong thing open. What I'm going to do now is just add the score of the players next to their names. So I had this player name map before that I ended up not needing, so I'm just going to rename that to this.scores, where I'll have a mapping of player ID to their current score. When a player joins, I'm going to say their score is 0. When a player leaves, I'm going to clear out their score. Delete, yeah. This.scores at player ID. And then now in render player list, it should be as simple as saying it is the name plus, this is probably not the right way to do string formatting and stuff, but kind of going fast and loose here. Plus this.scores at player.id. And if use the hot reloader. Okay. Broke. What's broken? What happened? Property 1 of undefined. This.scores. Is it a problem of this? Hold on. Const that equals this. I'm just testing. I don't know. It says cannot read scores of undefined. Property 53. Step players. This. I'm just going to say that and see if this works. Again, I'm not actually taking the time to read things. Let me take the time to read this. Separate property 1 of undefined 54. 54 says this. Fucking, of course. Of course. So, because I just removed the variable that I declared, or not the variable, the property, player name map, that I had previously added after I previously didn't need it. Anyway, I need this to be a variable. I don't need this to be in this property that no longer exists. Text node is equal to GameNode.text. The Vim is in me because I'm using my arrow keys to move, even though I have other ways to do that. My friend Connor would be very mad at me for using the arrow keys, but I don't care. I've been doing it for years. Okay. 0, 0, and that shows people's scores. That's great. That's a starting point. So basically, as long as there aren't too many players who have joined the game, that rendering logic will be fine. It'll go off of the height at a certain point, but I'm not super concerned about that because I don't see any more than 8 people playing this game, or anybody really playing this game. It's kind of just a example, the most basic game you can play. So anyway, here's my player names and here's my scores. I now want to add a new round button in this purple thing. My original thinking was that I just wanted to display it when there was at least 2 players in the game. Maybe I can do that in a cleanup video. At the moment, I just want to show the button. So this should be pretty easy. New round button is new game node.shape. You might see a pattern here. Game node.shape, game node.shape, game node.shape. Shape utils, rectangle. The new round button section is 85, taking up 10, so it's 85 to 95. I can probably have the button take up that entire width because, again, these are like the skeletons. I'm going to remove the kind of colored blocks and stuff later. Just want to have kind of a frame of reference for where things are going to be. So 85, I want it to be in the center, so 40, and it's going to take up 10 and then 20. So again, this is the starting X, the starting Y, the width, and the height. So if I'm starting at 85, it'll take up 10% of the width, so it's 85 to 95, just like the actual container that it's here, that we have here. The 40 is the starting Y, so if I'm taking up 20% of the height, and it's starting at 40, it should kind of be centered vertically from 40 to 60. Shape type, shapes, dot polygon, fill. What's a good color? Oh man, HG blue, keep it on brand. That's short for Home Games Blue, which is the blue that we use in our logo. So let's say new round button section, add child this dot new round button, and let's see if this works. Again, looks like absolute junk, but this is just where things go. This is not a final, this is not my artistic vision. So what I want to do probably here is add some text onto this button to let you know that you can do something with it, kind of visually, you can click it. Another thing I'll talk about in a little bit is the actual act of clicking it. So we'll go through that in a little bit. But first, let's just add some text to it. Sublime. Just keep that in the corner for a frame of reference. This new round text is a game node text. The text info is going to be an object. The text is new round, and the X will be, call it 90. The Y we'll say is 50. We want the alignment to be center, not snenter. We want the color to be black. We want the size to be, let's make it kind of large, say 2. Double the size of the text of these player names over here. I think that sounds okay. And let's see what happens when we add this as a child to or a child of the button. Add child, new round text. Disgusting. Alright, we'll make that size 1. Still not great. For whatever reason, this looks not aligned vertically. So let's just say 49. Sure, this looks correct. Yeah. It looks kind of nasty. Like the text is fuzzy looking. Maybe I had this weird scaling before because now it looks okay. I think I just changed that. Anyway, this looks fine. I'm on a non 1080p monitor and recording it in 1080, so everything kind of looks bad to me. So I don't know if this actually looks bad in the video. Anyway, that's the text. We have a very clearly defined new round button. We have this player list and kind of the elephant in the room, which is the actual game in the center here, which we'll get to at some point. So let's talk about click functions or on click functions. So new round button is the thing that we want people to click, and we want something to happen when that new round button is clicked. So we are going to say, hopefully this is I think it's on click. I don't know if the case sensitivity stuff matters. We'll figure it out. On click player. Let's just say we want to confirm that someone clicked it. Game server. And yes. So now you see that since we added an on click function, so when I hover my mouse over this new round button, it shows this pointer change to let you know that you can click it. We don't really have a good way to do this on mobile. I mean, you can get this game on your phone, but you don't really have the equivalent of that to make it obvious you can click it. Anyway, click, 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 and you see in the background my terminal is printing a lamau, which means good things. So at this point we have the click handler and stuff going. We have all the guts of this wired up, and at this point we just need to say new round. When this happens, we want a new round to happen. Don't know what that means quite yet, but let's call a function that we have not yet written. New round. Let's see, what do we want to do on a new round? We want to say for every player that we've gotten the game, we want to draw a card from the deck. And I suppose we could have a deck persist from the beginning to have 52 cards, and you can kind of have a different pile. You can say that we pulled cards out of here, we put them into this other stack. Cards, once we've run out of cards in the deck, we can kind of reshuffle and all that kind of stuff. That sounds like a lot, so let's just say every new round we're going to create a new deck, and then we're going to iterate through each player and say here's a new card for them. And then again, I don't know much about card games, so I don't know king, queen, whatever kind of stuff, so we're just going to compare values, meaning I guess it's possible that every player can get a 10, and at that point it's not clear or not really determined what player would win. So let's say it's the first player we see with the highest score, something like that. Or that sounds dumb. Maybe let's say it's the first player alphabetically, like if we were to sort their names alphabetically. In the case of a tie, it's whoever's name alphabetically comes first. That way at least you can kind of know who's going to win it, instead of just being a victim of the random for loop logic or whatever of going through the object. That's a terrible idea, but it sounds like a great idea in the moment, so we're going to do that. So let's just say that a deck is a new deck. Again, from the first video, deck is just a common utility thing. We can actually go look at it really quick. This was written, I think, by Alex, which is very much appreciated. I think it was Alex. If it wasn't, I don't know. Anyway, this is the deck logic. Pretty simple. There's a shuffle, there's a draw card, and that's about it. So we're going to say every time there's a new round, we're going to define a new deck instead of having different piles of stuff. And we're going to say for player ID in this dot players, we essentially need to get a card for this player. So say const player card equals deck dot draw card, and then we're going to just log the value. I have a very iterative process when I do this stuff, so I apologize if I'm kind of all over the place. But basically at this point I just want to say when a new round happens, I'm going to create a new deck. I'm then going to say for every player that I currently have, I'm going to pick a card out for them, and instead of rendering anything on the screen quite yet, I'm just going to log their value to see that that's the correct property to be pulling. This new round, 13. I just drew a 13. I drew a lot of 13s, and that's not a good sign. Oh, that's kind of cool. Okay, so I have a deck which is in the same order every time, so I need to shuffle it. Deck.shuffle. And now, good thing I did that log, or else I would have been losing my mind trying to fix that later. Cool. So now I have actual different values. So yeah, the problem there was just that there was the deck is created the same way every time. It's created in a for loop from 0 to 13, 0 to 13 for every different type of suit, meaning since it's 0 to 13 or 1 to 13 every single time, whenever I pull off the top of it, it's always going to be a 13 unless I shuffle it. So that's what that was. Cool. So let's get the hot reloader back going. Again, hot reloader eats console logs, so that's why I'm only using it sometimes. Okay. So this is the part I've been dreading for some reason. This is the part where I need to actually show their cards. I could have kind of an image representing the card. I can have kind of a fancy, asset that represents the card instead of what I'm doing right here. What I'm going to actually be doing is just the same way I've been doing everything else. It's just a simple rectangle. Say, here's the square, and here's some text inside of it. So player card, player card node is a game node dot shape, and the color is going to be white to look like a card. The X needs to be dynamically calculated, and so does the Y, I suppose, if I wanted to do kind of a grid. Again, I don't really have a hard limit on how many players can join. I had in my notes I wanted 8, which seems reasonable. I can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, which would require some mathematics. But let's just say for right now, I'm going to do it in one big row with 8 columns or however many columns, and let it kind of go off the screen because I'm not too concerned with that. So let's say let x index equal to, where does this start? This yellow thing starts at 30 and it goes to 80. So let's say the starting index is 35. And we're going to say the x index is that. The y is hard coded to, I don't know, 50. What else goes in here? Fill. Oh, that's what this needs to be, not color. Shape type is what I'm missing. No, I was missing something. Shapes.polygon. Okay, so player card node has color white. It's a polygon. It starts at 35. It'll be 50 down from the top. And let's just say we're adding this to the card section as a child and see what happens. Add child player card node. And also kind of like the rendering player list. If you're familiar with React, this is kind of that kind of design pattern. Essentially there's different components and we want to render them kind of on some sort of update event type thing. Something will update and something will render. It's kind of the general idea, components and child components and stuff like that. But this is not React. It's just kind of a similar concept. So this card section clear children, because we want to wipe out the table of whatever cards are there beforehand, put everybody's cards on the table, and then kind of say this person won, blah blah blah. So that's what we're doing here. And let's see if this works. And it doesn't. What am I missing? Did I really forget? Oh wow. Yeah, I am not doing well. This is coordinates.2D. I was using parameters like it was a text node, but it's not. Shape utils.rectangle. The X is the X index. The Y is 50. It takes up 5% of the width and 10% of the height. That, I think, is correct. Yeah. Cool. So, dead simple, right? New round. I'm drawing a card. I'm not yet doing anything. I'm just saying, here's your card. I'm not showing you what it is yet, but there is an actual value represented to it. I suppose I could do something fancy like flip the cards all at one point or something to add for dramatic effect, but the reality is, at the point of giving everybody the cards, the winner's already determined, and it's all just kind of flashy whatever to make it, look different, take longer, whatever. Again, these are all things we could do to clean it up. I'm just trying to make a bare bones, draw cards type game. So that's what we're doing. Don't know why I killed that process. Cool. So yeah, this looks bad. This little white square here. So we probably want to make this larger, probably in both the X and Y. So let's say instead of taking up 5 width, it's 10 width, and instead of 10 height, it's 15 height. And new round. That's pretty nasty looking as well. So let's make it taller and skinnier. So let's flip these. 50. No, yeah. Okay, sorry, I'm just confusing my numbers and how they work here. So let's make it skinnier. So the width is smaller. New round. That's okay. Maybe 6% of the screen. That's card-like. Let's see what it looks like on the big thing. Yeah, sure. This is looking like a Teddy Fresh sweatshirt, and that's okay, because again, these colors are not final. No disrespect to Teddy Fresh. Cool. So my X looks about right. My Y is not. Let's just make it a little bit more up. So let's just say it's 40. Also wrong. Let's just say 45. So I'm starting it at the 45 kind of Y position here, and it's taking up 15% of the height. So it's kind of not quite centered. If I wanted it to take up 15% of the height and be centered, it would need to be 42.5, which actually I think would be correct here. So let's see that. And again, 42.5 because 15 over 2 is 7.5. So if I wanted it to be at the actual 50 point to be the center, then I would need that minus 7.5 for the kind of the top half of it to be, above that, and the bottom half of it to be below that in an equal way. So that's where I'm getting 42.5. This looks about okay. I'm getting weird about the positioning, so let's just say it's 30 on the X. This probably isn't very fun to watch. Let me know if it is or if it is not. We appreciate comments and stuff like that, feedback. Cool. I'm going to make this green background not green anymore because it's truly atrocious. Okay, this is better. Okay, so now I have my little card space here. So at this point, I'm just going to add the player who has the card above it, and I'm going to add the value on the card. So to do that, why am I doing this here? Const card text node is a new game node. Dot text. The text is the player's or the card's value. Player card dot value. I'm just going to do this to make sure that it's a string instead of a float, just because I don't know if the home games game engine stuff will barf if you pass it a non-string to it. So that's this little hack here. There's no fill on text. Player card node. I want this to be 40, or the X index plus the width over 2. So 30 plus 3. So it's x index plus 3. Plus 3. The y is equal to, call it 45. The colors dot black. Size, let's make it a big number. Say it's 5. And the align is center. We're then going to add player card node dot add child card text node, and at this point we should have the value of their card in this little box here. Nope. Text info, fuck. Yep, the same problem as before. I keep forgetting that this is text info, and the reasoning for that is because there are other things that are not text info that can go onto a text node. For example, the player IDs that are whitelisted to view this node. We're not going to talk too much about that stuff in here, but essentially I can create some nodes that only some players can see, or I can create public nodes, which are what all these are at the moment, because, you know, everything is visible to everybody, and that's okay. So that's what that is. Cool. I got 12. I got 13. I got 1. I got 13, 6, 6, whatever. So I have a game now, essentially, where I'm a player of 1, and I'm playing with no one, drawing cards, and saying, I won. Not very fun, but it does work. So, one thing I don't like is just how big that text value is. It's a little large, especially if there's 2 digits. Kind of gets squished in there, so just make it a little bit smaller. 9, 13, 8. Okay, this looks about fine. If we go over here, yeah. And I think we can fit some of these. I think like probably 7, 8 in this. Let's test it out. One thing I didn't do is I didn't increment the x index, so if I don't do this, then basically no matter how many players there are, it'll just keep rendering on the same x position, just like it was with the player list, and it'll always be in the same spot, so it always look like there's 1 instead of 8 or however many there are. Plus equals 10. Cool. New round. And let's join over here. Hey. So now we have 2 different people drawing cards. Someone's winning and we don't know who. Cool. I suppose instead of doing the alphabetical thing, we can do like a tie. Say like, oh, you guys tied. But that's not very cool. I'm going to cut the video here because this feels like an accomplishment. And the next one I'll do scores and player names and maybe some code cleanup if there's any. But yeah, that's it for the second video.